Hey guys, Brian here with Forest Farm Project. Today we're continuing our series of videos showing you what tools we've used in clearing the property prior to actually purchasing and just everything we've used up to this point. We've had a lot of requests for this kind of stuff, people wondering what's worked out for us, what's held up, so we're going to continue that today. And today we were talking about hand saws. Starting out, you'll see I have 3 of these red saws. This is the Corona folding saw. We got this at Lowe's for I think $20. It's a 10-inch blade. And it's just a carbon steel alloy, and it's got a little bit of a hard chrome plating on it. These are, as you can see, we have 3, like I said. The reason we have 3 is they're an excellent saw. However, it's not the most durable of steel. As you can see right here, there is a tooth missing. They break pretty easily. This one was actually a combination of 2 saws, so we had 4. We've had to buy quite a few, but it's an excellent sacrificial saw for what we do. And we don't have to worry about it when we go cutting on stumps or cutting in dirty areas. As you can see, this blade broke. The hardware fell out of this one, and so we took this blade from another saw that broke, put it on here, and made a saw that works for a really rough area, but now it's fallen apart as well. Up next, we've got the Silky Sugoi 420. This is a professional arborist saw. It has a 16-inch blade, which is awesome. It'll cut just about anything you throw at it. And it's a hard chrome plated steel. I'm not sure exactly what the steel is, but it's extremely durable. It held up to about a year of a professional arborist using it, who's a good friend of ours. And he knew we were out here working our butts off using these hand saws initially, clearing things, just clearing some undergrowth to see what the property looked like. So he said that this one passed his usability standards because when he's up in a tree, he needs to be able to draw this one-handed. And over time, you can see from very heavy use, drawing and resheathing this saw, it has eaten away at the inside of the sheath. Well, when you do that, it allows the saw to seat deeper than it should, and it'll slip out the bottom, and when that little hook of the end of the blade comes over the sheath, you can't draw it with one hand very easily. You got to push on it with the other hand. It's just not practical when you're 60 or 70 feet up in a tree. So we think he was being very generous, and he gave us this saw, and it's about a $100 saw, but we have used one of these over our time working here, which has been about 2.5 years, and he used it for about a year. So this has got about 3.5 years of very heavy use on it. We've gone through 4 of these Corona saws, this being our 4th, which is still in pretty good shape. But if you add this up, we are at $80 in saws on the Corona folding saws, and this would be one $100 saw. If you're out here working and one of these breaks, you've got to take time and go get another one. So you've lost time, you've lost gas. It adds up real quick when you could buy one really good saw. One thing to keep in mind as far as the durability of this and us having gone through 4 of them is, when we came out here and started clearing, we cut a 600-foot drive through the forest that was all dense forest, and we cleared about 2 acres for where our houses are going. We only have one chainsaw, so I would drop a tree, and Dad has the patience of a little kid at Christmas. It ain't gonna happen, he's not gonna wait. He would pull out this Corona, well, the first one we had, and go to town limbing those trees as I would drop them. Anything that this would cut, he would start cutting. And the more you're out here doing this day in, day out, you really build up some endurance, some strength, and he was pushing these saws far beyond what they should be pushed. And when you really get to pushing a saw, these blades will flex. And every now and then you bind up and it's gonna bend right at the tip, which is why this one broke, because it got bent several times. And I'll show you how this bent. As you can see, that really bent over quite a bit to break off. So just keep that in mind. These are excellent saws. I'm not knocking them, saying that, hey, we've been through 4, they're junk. We have pushed these saws to the point of breaking multiple times, and we keep going back to them because they are a good saw. They've held up really well, and at $20 for what we're doing, it is an excellent sacrificial saw. We use this to cut off small stumps in areas that we don't want to disrupt all the ground. So we'll cut the stump off at the ground level, and it gives us a nice smooth area. So let's get doing some cutting. Okay, first and foremost, before you start cutting, remember, you have always got to have some kind of protection for your hands. I like my mechanics wear gloves that have a nice leather palm area. Gives me good protection, good grip. but they're still breathable on the back, so my hands don't get that prune look from being soaked in sweat. One big advantage to a longer blade like the Silky has is, wow, look at that. There's a big difference there. But one big advantage to the longer blade is a lot of your energy is used up in starting that cut and pulling back to start the back cut. Well, you've got to start and stop far more frequently with the smaller Corona 10-inch blade versus the 16-inch Silky. You can get more economy of motion, a lot more just overall cutting power with a longer blade. It really helps make you more efficient and get a lot more done in a much shorter amount of time, saving you energy. Where you might have to start and stop 50 times with this, you might only have to start and stop about 30 times with this longer blade, and you're going to save so much energy and get through it faster because of that. Since we don't have any fruit trees to show you guys how well these saws will prune, what we're going to do is work on clearing along the side of the road leading up to our property. There's a lot of trees that are hanging out in the road, and when you have to pass somebody, since the road is less than 2 lanes wide, it's just over a lane, you have to go off the sides of the road to pass, so it makes it dangerous and difficult to pass, especially with all the rain we've had lately, and all these trees have been laying out in the road, so we're going to work on some pruning along the road and clear it at the same time, show you guys how these will do. Okay, we're going to start out on this oak tree and see how it'll do. Oh, that does not like, that tree's wobbling a bit, but man, that does a good job pruning. It's hard to get in there and prune on that one. There's another branch behind it. There we go. Okay, so we got a bit bigger one here that was behind that other one, and I'm gonna work on getting it out of the way. It's quite a big branch. That's a good size one. That was probably 2.5 inches in diameter. This little Corona did a great job taking it out. In looking closer at this tree, we've realized that the top is broken out, and what is near the top is what's the problem growing out, so this whole tree just needs to come out. Chainsaw work, or let's switch up and use the Silky for this.
Better be careful, all this heavy traffic.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic on this road, as you can see. Here she comes. All right. Okay, we've got an invasive species. We're not really sure what it is, but it likes to grow along the edge of the road, and as you can see, it's very flimsy. Again, when it rains a lot, this thing was literally laying out here in the road. I love that soft tree. It cuts so easy. Switch up and do some Silky. If I can get this other one back in my back pocket. Let's see. One of these was leaning for sure. About hit the cameraman there. That one's hanging up a little bit with a vine. Watch out, Mr. Cameraman. Okay. Just a couple more and we should be clear over here. Trying to cut as close to the trunk as possible, and it's a tight area. There we go. As you guys can see, these do an excellent job pruning. Either one would be a great saw to have on your farm for pruning fruit trees or anything that gets in the way like these are. Let's move on to cutting some bigger stuff. Okay, so we had a leaning sweet gum over where we're going to clear out for this wildlife area, and I already cut the top off. That way I don't have the added weight of the sweet gum pulling against this. We want a pretty fair comparison to show you how the Corona cuts versus the Silky on something that's roughly 2.5 to almost 3 inches in diameter. This section here that I'm going to cut is pretty much straight. There's not much of a taper, so it'll be a pretty fair comparison to show the difference in strokes on this tree. Let's get to it. This thing jumps all over. Okay, that's the Corona. Let's try the Silky. Okay, both of them cut really clean. Looked like about 25 strokes on the Corona and 17 on the Silky. Let's move on and cut some more stuff, see how they do. I'm gonna do a little bit more pruning with the Silky and just show you guys how good it is for pruning limbs around your farm. Cuts through it like butter. Do a little bit larger one here. Man, that's nice. Does an awesome job. You've seen that these both can do some nice pruning. They do a great job at that. And now we want to show you what they're doing a little bit bigger stuff. We're going to cut this roughly 4-inch tree with the Corona and then about a 5-inch tree with the Silky. Just show you how well they handle larger items. And we're going to leave the stumps for now. We're going to clear all this area out and get rid of the stumps later. But if I were doing this for real and not demonstrating what these saws will do, I would be using a chainsaw to do all this. We had some questions about that in our last video with the Pruning, people asking why we didn't just use a chainsaw. I'm demonstrating how these things work for you, so that's why I'm not using a chainsaw to do this. All right, let's get started. Like I said, the Corona's got a pretty good advantage here because I'm cutting a smaller tree, so it's going to have the upper hand for sure. But they both do excellent jobs. On this size tree, I am going to use the two-handed grip just to get a lot better control over this saw, and it's not going to wobble around like the smaller items did earlier. Definitely be sure you don't have any body parts in front of the blade or anybody else is near the blade when you're cutting. And make sure you don't have a grip that is going to let your hand slide forward and get cut. You don't want to just about cut your finger in two. Dad nearly cut his thumb in half with the Silky about a year ago, and it's not a fun thing, definitely. So let's get to it. And there it stands. And there we go. Nice and easy. Okay, let's try the Silky out on a larger tree. Again, the Corona had quite the advantage because it was a smaller tree. So hopefully this longer blade will give me an advantage here. And there we go. Nothing to it. Okay, so on the smaller tree, we used the Corona and we had 25 strokes cutting that tree down. On the larger tree, with the Silky, we had 18 strokes. So again, that longer blade added into economy of motion. We got a lot more wood removed per cut. Definitely a huge advantage if you're out here cutting all day, if you're pruning all day, whatever you're doing. Ironically, we had basically the same number of strokes per cut on the smaller tree comparison we did a little earlier, and the reason for that is it was a smaller tree. I had to hold it with one hand while I cut with the other, and it was still moving around. With this being an entire tree, I was able to put both hands on the saw and really go at it and get a full stroke and a good stroke on the tree. Made a huge difference in my capabilities. So if you're out backpacking, doing the Appalachian Trail or something, you could take something like the Corona because it does fold up nicely, takes up very little space, no sheath to worry about. But I personally have gone out, and when I go camping, this straps to the outside of your pack very easily. You just tie the sheath to it and you're set, ready to go. If you want to get the best of both worlds, they do make Silky folding saws. So if you only have room for one saw in your arsenal, that'd be a great way to go because it covers both bases. And if I'm out on a trail and I'm using that saw to get my firewood, build my shelter, anything along those lines, I want something I know is going to be durable, long-lasting, and hold up to whatever I throw at it. The Silky is definitely winning out right there. The Corona just is not near as durable. We've had 3 of them break on us, so it's a good sacrificial saw out here, cutting stumps and whatnot, getting in really dirty stuff, but this is definitely the way to go. Like I said, this thing has probably 3.5 years of hard use on it, and it's held up to everything. It's doing a phenomenal job. As you can see, it cuts extremely well. It's got an excellent grip on it. Wet hands, does not matter. It holds up extremely well. Just really good saw. Oh, and for those of you wondering, the Corona's made in Korea, the Silkies are made in Japan. That's probably why the difference in steel and the durability. But that's about all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this. If you like what you see, give us that big thumbs up for a like, comment below, share with your friends, and check back off. And we got a whole lot more coming, guys. Have a good one.